Once again, this is Global Reports on Liberty Television, Kaduna. Welcome again to our Kaduna studios. We are broadcasting throughout Nigeria on channel 180 on Star Times Network, also in Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Togo, Benin and Niger Republics, also as far away as Sudan, and all across West Africa on multi-TV strong decoder. And welcome to our viewers in Plateau State, where you can watch us on free-to-air, free TV channel 775. You can also follow us live on the internet from our website www.libertytvradio.com. Today, as we normally do, we'll bring you some of the reports that are featured in the global world news on the last 7 days. Today, I'm joined in the studio by our good friend, Barrister John Bellamy. Welcome, John, to the studio.
Thank you very much.
Now, first of all, before we move on, we will start off with our normal international global newspaper review. Today's Singapore newspaper, The Today, reports about the Zika virus outbreak in Singapore, where the first pregnant woman has been diagnosed, bringing the Singapore outbreak to 24 cases. Today's United Kingdom Guardian reports on a survey which has sounded the alarm that Africa has lost 1/3 of its elephant population between 2007 and 2014, a period of 7 years. The biggest fall was recorded from Angola, Mozambique and Tanzania. Wednesday's New York Times reports on Donald Trump's visit to Mexico, a country whose people he has labelled as thieves and rapists. Donald Trump, as you recall, is the Republican candidate in the upcoming United States presidential election. A cartoon in the United States Herald Tribune caricatures Donald Trump as reaching out to the US African American community, who seem to be running in the opposite direction from him in the cartoon. The USA New York Times on Tuesday reports with a picture of immigrants being rescued off the coast of Libya, part of a massive influx at this time of the year before the European winter sets in. Tuesday's USA Wall Street Journal shows on its front page the embattled president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, as she attempts to defend herself in an impeachment vote which she lost yesterday. A cartoon in the US Times Tribune newspaper shows Donald Trump, the Republican presidential candidate, attempting to woo the African American vote in the upcoming presidential election. Welcome back. Our first item of news this week is about the burkini. You heard me right, the burkini, not a bikini. Apparently in France last week, the government authorities in Cannes, which is a resort, beach resort, banned women wearing a bikini. Now a bikini, if we can maybe get one up on the screen, is apparently an Islamically approved swimwear for ladies this is, so they don't expose their flesh. But it's become controversial because connected with a lot of Islamophobia and this and that. Watch this short report from France 24.
Now we turn our attention to Media Watch with you. Emma James, welcome to the set. You've been casting an eye over reactions to the latest twist in the burkini ban madness. It is madness that is consuming France for the last few weeks.
I know, it seems like we've been talking about nothing but the burkini, but it is something that has really gained international attention. And the mixed reactions continue today after that court ruling that the ban in Villeneuve-Loubet was clearly illegal, as the Conseil d'État put it. This kind of Twitter reaction is fairly typical. Cheers to you fascists, they say in this one, with an image of Leonardo DiCaprio raising a champagne glass, clearly somebody very happy that the burkini ban has been suspended by the court. Elsewhere, of course, very different reactions on the far right. This one, Nicolas Dupont-Aignan, is a politician from the Debout la République party, fairly little known outside of France.
He's
I think
far,
it's fair to say.
far right.
Yeah, stand up the Republic is what it means in English. He is going to be contesting the presidency in 2017. And what he says is that if we accept the burkini today, then we will end up with Sharia law tomorrow. His fairly extreme views prompting lots of responses like this one. If we accept policies without brains today, oh, well, that's what we have already, says this Twitter user. Around the world, cartoonists have been really mocking France for this, and I think quite baffled as to quite what it is that's going on. This from the London Times newspaper, where you see the police ripping the clothing from Lady Liberty. She's a recurring theme in lots and lots of cartoons out there in the world today. This from a Bangkok artist, Lady Liberty coshing a Muslim woman in a burkini over the head with the flame there. This is a kind of a reworking of the Statue of
I saw that
Liberty.
one, I like it.
Absolutely. Apparently the French police were around, says this Twitter user. And this one from another British cartoonist, the burkini police, according to Matt, you must remove the socks from under your sandals. I guess they're talking to a British man. It is something of a British faux pas when it comes to summer fashions, that one. This from a French cartoonist, because they are mocking this story just as much as everyone else around the world. And the lady in the bikini, not the burkini, says, yes, I'm freezing, but I didn't want to be reported for wearing an ostentatious outfit. Now, that word ostentatious is one that's been used by critics of the burkini, saying that it is an ostentatious religious symbol, and that is why it shouldn't be seen on France's beaches. That's their argument at any rate. So there is plenty of fodder for many jokes and cartoons, but a lot of people seriously upset about the ruling that has been made today. This one from Antoine Barreto. He describes himself as a nationalist, not a racist. He says, thanks to the Conseil d'État for proving the powerlessness of the French Republic to oppose Islamization. And another tweet on a similar theme, again, the idea that Sharia law could be next. The next stage will be men and women being separated on the beach, then it'll be Sharia.
What about the women in all of this, the ones who are the most in the line of fire, shall we say, or the most the ones who have the most at stake in this? What about women's rights?
Yes, it is an interesting question, and it is one that seems to be confusing people a little. No one's quite sure which side of the feminist fence they should be on. Which is the greater affront to a woman's freedom, being told to cover up to conform with their religion, or being told that they're not allowed to cover up.
And burkinis or bikinis. John, what's your view on burkinis?
Actually, my take on this is the contradiction in the French law. In one hand, they ban the burkini, which is the one that is worn generally in the outside, and they don't want one in the swimming pool or in the beach. What surprised me is the one where police are forcing people on the beach
To dress. Rather than
yes,
undress.
it goes against all the principles that France stands for.
Yeah.
That is liberty and all the human rights. So, in my opinion, that was really absurd.
It was absolutely absurd,
Yes.
Actually asking a Muslim woman to take off her clothes. Almost. It's scandalous.
Now that they have gone to court and they've got the court order, I hope that they will sensibly obey the court order.
Well, this is what all the protests have been about. People should be able to wear what they want, whether it's Islamically correct or non-Islamically correct or whatever. People have a right to wear what they want to
Right,
wear.
and don't
the
forget,
government should not interfere.
This is a beach, not the normal thing that is somewhere, and it's a public forum, not a private beach. So if it's a public beach and I want to wear what I want to wear, I should be allowed to wear it.
Exactly.
That is my own take.
But I think it's coming from all this Islamophobia that's unfortunately coming a result of some of the problems with immigration, terrorism, a lot of other
Right.
subjects are around this problem.
The issue of is creeping all over Europe. You can see what is happening now in the UK about even people wearing the burqa. Right, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I can see some points of view about wearing a full face veil and identification. And the fact that even there's been instances where robbers, well, we know terrorists have done it, but armed robbers have even dressed in Islamic burqas to hide themselves. Well, I think we'll move on to, we haven't got much time again, we'll move on to another story. This week, Apple were ordered by the European Union to pay Ireland, which is an island off Great Britain, Independent Republic of Ireland, $14.5 billion because of taxes that they have not been charged for. And we have a report from China channel CCTV on this particular subject.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, rather.
Apple's tax benefits in Ireland are illegal. Two tax rulings granted by Ireland have artificially reduced Apple's tax burden for over 2 decades in breach of EU state aid rules. Apple now have to repay the benefits worth up to 13 billion euros plus interest.
Ireland's arguments seem to boil down to the code. It's one of the main reasons it says that this is an unjustified decision.
The thing is that this has to do with profits generated in Europe and recorded in Europe. This is sort of European activities, so it has to do with European taxation, in case Irish taxation, and it has to do with European state aid rules, since it is taking place within the single market. Whatever the issue that Apple may have with the US tax code is not an issue for us.
Apparently, apparently Irish tax is 12.5%, but Apple paid less than 1%. Of course, a lot of companies like to put their money and their company finances into Ireland because it has a very low tax rate, and in fact it's considered as a tax haven. John, you're a lawyer, probably you have a say on this.
Yes. The issue, I think, is the broader issue of tax evasion, where you have a big corporation like Apple operating in Ireland with headquarters nowhere, because from the tax returns they are saying that they are operating in Ireland, but they don't have a head office.
But there's nobody in
But
Ireland.
money is
The office
shifted
is
from
just
Ireland to a head office,
Yeah.
which only exists in paper. So there's a broader question of tax avoidance, dodging tax by big companies. And that is the bigger issue, I think, that the EU wants to go against. And as they said, the other companies who are doing equally
Lots,
this
yeah.
kind of a practice.
They only, I understand the office in Ireland has a skeleton staff.
Right.
And as you say, all the money is shipped back to their own offices
yes.
elsewhere. And all the big names, all the blue chip companies are doing this.
Yes.
So where do you overstep the boundary between tax avoidance and tax evasion?
Evasion, yes.
That's the key thing.
That is it. You see, Ireland must have made a special kind of arrangement with Apple because they wanted to attract investment. But that arrangement is against EU rules, right? So that is why the EU came in and took 2 years, don't mind, 2 years to investigate this tax issue. And they came out that this country, this big company, with all the profit it's making, has never been paying tax. Unfortunately.
Virtually no tax.
Yes, virtually no tax.
And I think even the big companies like MTN and not MTN, I'm sorry, the big, all the big companies have been doing this, all of them. And lots of them go to Ireland because of low tax rates.
Yes, and that is indicative of how some people can get away with, with murder.
Okay, we move on again. This week, in fact, yesterday, in Brazil, the first woman president, that's Dilma Rousseff, was impeached and had to step down as president after a long battle going over a year, I think. And this is where, watch this short report on Al Jazeera.
With a stroke of a pen, Michel Temer has formally become Brazil's new president, replacing the woman who had chosen him as her running mate almost 6 years ago. The impeachment of President Dilma Rousseff was consummated in the same Senate chamber hours earlier.
The accused is sentenced to lose the position of President of the Federative Republic of Brazil.
Defiant as ever, Rousseff vowed to appeal the predictable verdict.
They think they've beaten us, but they are mistaken. I know we are all going to fight. Against them will be the firmest, most tireless and energetic opposition that a coup government can face.
What was not on the original agenda was a stunning second vote to allow Rousseff to retain her political rights, a consolation prize that has outraged many of Temer's allies. Asked why they had voted to remove Rousseff from office but maintain her political rights, several senators told me that it was because they believed she had not committed any crime, but that if she returned to the presidential palace, Brazil's governability would be at risk. In other words, they believed that she had to go, but that she did not deserve to be sent into the political wilderness. Outside, there was no shortage of riot police. Rather, a noticeable absence of demonstrators. But in several cities, small groups for and against the impeachment were out as a reminder of earlier mass protests. For the new president, the priority is to kickstart Brazil's ailing economy, which is why he immediately left for China to attend the G20 summit, leaving a pre-taped message to his countrymen behind. Confidence in our country has eroded, he said. Our mission is to show businessmen and investors the world over that Brazil is willing to offer good business deals and create jobs, guaranteeing political stability and judicial security. Michel Temer knows he has the daunting responsibility to not only lift the world's seventh largest economy from a deep recession, but also restore confidence, if he can, in Brazil's fractured political system that led to his predecessor's.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, rather.
Apple's tax benefits in Ireland are illegal. Two tax rulings.
There we have it. The first woman president of excuse me, Brazil has been impeached and she stepped down. John, what do you take of this event?
I think this is a victory for democracy. That they could do this without bloodshed. It's amazing. And I'm really impressed that the Senate of Brazil took its time to read out the charges, and she defended herself properly. At the end of the day, they voted that she should be out. It's amazing.
But she's promised to come back. She hasn't given up.
That is our prerogative. That is our prerogative.
So Brazil, after the Olympic Games, has a new president, or temporary president for the next 2 years. And we can see the seeds of democracy have been well watered in Brazil, and peaceful changeover from that. So, unfortunately, we are now out of time, as usual, and you can see us on our Facebook page, which is Liberty Global Reports. You can see this program as from usually by this evening, and you can also see some of the footage and pictures that we have used on the program, and you can make contact with us and make comments. Please feel free to come to Liberty Global Reports Facebook page. And for more global reports next week, join us in the studio next Thursday, same time, same place. So I'd like to once again thank Barrister John Bellamy for coming to the programme.
And I wish you happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I've
you.
never been wished happy birthday. on
No,
live air
okay,
before.
happy
Thank you
birthday
very
again,
much.
yeah.
This is Arthur Brooks signing off, and from all our studio crew here in Kaduna, from Liberty Global Reports, have a fantastic weekend.